The money is made at the bid. The bid is where the money's made. They'd make way more money. They're not stupid people. They're just not intelligent in their numbers, and they
Yeah.
need that help. And if they'd use a good software that would help with quoting and would help get their numbers more accurate, you only have one opportunity to make money, and that's at the bid.
All right, guys. So welcome back to Roofer2Roofer. This is your opportunity to ask Scott and myself any questions you have about the roofing business, roofing industry, and we are here to answer. Um, got myself, CEO of ProLine, Scott, owner of Rainstoppers Roofing and STR Consulting. So you got lots of knowledge between the two of us, different sides of the roofing industry, and we're here to answer your questions. So we got our own questions to go through, but we always love answering questions directly from you guys. So if you can put it into the chat or into the Q&A, we'll be happy to answer questions from you guys directly. All right, we'll start with one of our questions. What is the best way to estimate job costs to accurately to avoid budget overruns?
Well, I mean, it's not really an estimate. You should know the cost. Like, really, you should know what the job's going to cost you when you're bidding it. So, um, what that takes is basically spending the time with your supplier, really dialing in your price list on your material list. If you're using subs, it's very easy. You know what your pricing from your sub is going to be per item. Whether that's per pitch, every chimney, whatever that is. Whatever those pricing items are, you should have those to a T, exactly what you're going to be spending on that job when you bid it. If you're using in-house labor, it does get a little bit more tedious to understand that exact cost. But at the same time, depending on how you structure your in-house labor, there's guys that pay day rate, there's guys that pay piece rate, there's guys that pay hourly. If you're in business for very long, it's not going to take you long to figure out, really what that job's going to cost you and what you need to be charging or what you need to be costing the job at. So, yeah, I mean, using a system, we use ProLine, obviously. We have job costing built into ProLine. We have, a budget job cost, and we have an actual job cost at the end, just in case there's unforeseens, different things like that. We can edit it. Um, but it's 100% necessary to really, really know your costs, and dial that in before you ever bid a job, because the money is made. I was told one time in real estate, um, the deal is won or lost at the purchase of the house. And this is for house flipping business, right? It's not, you don't make your money on the flip. You make your money on the purchase. If you can buy it at a low enough price, you're going to have X amount in it no matter what you buy it for, right? You're going to put 50 grand into this house no matter how much you pay for the house. If you pay 30 for it or you pay 100 for it, you're still putting 50 in it, and you can
Yeah.
only sell it for X. Bidding roofs is the exact same way. You have to put your bid on the job where you think you need to be. You only have one opportunity to make money, and that's at the bid. You're not going to make that up during production. You're not going to do it faster than you hope to make more money. No, it's not. You might do it once. You're not going to do it very often. The money is made at the bid. The bid is where the money's made.
Yeah.
You don't know your costs, you're not going to make money.
Right. And you got to know that before you even quote the job. Like
Yep.
that's prep work before you even go out and start selling.
Yeah,
Um,
before you bid work, you better know what you're going to pay for the work.
yeah. It's in the preparation. All right. All right, guys. If you guys got any questions for those just joining us, we're happy to answer y'all's questions. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going through our own, but you can put your questions into the Q&A area or the chat. Um, Scott, what is the number one mistake that causes loss of profit on roofing projects?
That's exactly what I just said.
Just not
Not
knowing
bidding
your
enough.
numbers. Yeah.
not knowing your numbers and not bidding enough. That's literally, I mean, for me, that was my problem. Learning to run a business and learning how to be profitable, for me was just a fact of not knowing what my actual costs were. You think, well, I'm going to have X amount a day in my payroll, and I'm going to have this in overhead a month, and I break that down to 30 days, blah, blah, you try to run those numbers and you think that you're close, and you're just not close. Like, it's just not accurate. You have to really sit down. I mean, labor burden is huge. If you're running in-house labor burden is extremely expensive. Our labor burden was like almost 20%. So if our payroll was 10 grand a month, add 20% to that, that's actually what our labor cost us,
Yeah.
right? So it's there's things like that that you just don't take into consideration that are very expensive. Depreciation of assets, trucks. Just because you put fuel in the truck, you also got to remember you're depreciating that truck. That truck is not worth as much today as it was a year ago. So, like, those assets are not as valuable, and you have to replace them at some time. So when the time comes to re-up your fleet of 8 trucks, and you haven't been accounting for that depreciation, you're not going to have the cash to get new vehicles to restock the fleet. So um again, it's all in knowing your numbers because it's all in the bid. Money is made or lost at the point of sale.
Besides that, though, so say you're completely squared away all your numbers. You got all your pricing from your supplier right. You've budgeted out, you got everything as far as measurements goes, everything that you can square away on the front end, you've squared away. In that scenario, what is the usually the biggest thing on the back end that will kind of surprise cut down profit?
I think what it is for us, for a lot of people, not us, is the unforeseens. Um, we don't really have that because we have really, really taken the time to fix those issues. But things such as, uh, we all know about damage decking. Everybody's charging for damage sheeting. Like that. That's an easy one. But what about brittle sheetings falling through the garage ceiling, landing on the customer's car? Right. We had this happen recently, and why that's why I say we fixed it. So um, we ended up paying. It was a Harley, and it was a custom painted Harley, and I think we paid $2,500 so the guy could have his Harley gas tank repainted. Um, what we did was in our contract, which, mind you, our contract's one page. We don't have like some complex thing, but we have a list of terms, and it's in bold lettering. You have to initial next to each line, like super, super in your face. Do not miss this. If we put a foot through a drywall ceiling because the damages of the decking's in such bad shape that we can't even walk on it to repair the roof, we're not responsible for that interior drywall. You should have called 10 years ago. You
Yeah.
know, um, if you have an unfinished garage ceiling or attic ceiling with valuables inside, understand that there's going to be debris that fall from the roof deck potentially.
Yeah.
Either pull valuables out or inform us so we can them, right? Things like that, because where we lose money is things that we're unaware of. We don't really lose money on roof jobs if everything just goes a course, right? We lose money when there's a mistake made that we were unaware of. So, like I said, the garage, having the Harley in there with an unfinished ceiling and some debris fell on it and scratched the gas tank. That's where we lost money. We didn't lose money on the roof. We lost money because we paid the customer for a mistake we made. So for us, that's where in the past mistakes have been made. We've gotten really good in our contract about how to handle that, and it's not just a contractual thing. It's an understanding between contractor and homeowner. Look, you're hiring us, but you have skin in the game too. This is your home. If there's things here that need to be protected or removed, make us aware so we can take advantage of the situation prior to. than after the fact, right? So that's what we're doing. We're not trying to stick it to the homeowner. We just want everybody on the same page and everybody to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
What do you
Yep.
hear being a problem with contractors losing money?
Nothing that you haven't mentioned. I think it's usually has something to do with yeah, it's unexpected damages or unexpected injuries. Um, those are kind of the things that it's hard. You can't really bake that into your price per se. It's more about you have to be able to, you either have to contractually be able to charge more or make the homeowner responsible, or it's like you're talking about. Um, have you ever had injuries to a home, like a homeowner or someone on the property that wasn't your crew while you were working?
Oh man, I'm I'm sure I'm allowed to talk to this because I'm not actually sued yet. I've just got a notice, but um, yeah, we have a homeowner. It was an apartment complex we did. You know about this particular job, in fact. Um, anyway, we did an apartment complex and a piece of drywall about this big, maybe 12 inches by 8 inches, right? My guys swear their foot didn't go through it. Okay. And it's rough, right? It's not nice. Like this is a really rough apartment complex. They claim just walking on it fell loose. I believe them. As a matter of fact, it fell behind the homeowner's entertainment center, like in behind the living room entertainment center. Like you can't physically be back there. She claims it hit her in the head and is suing me for $60,000. So I've not been sued yet, but I do have noticed that that's what she wants, and I'm not settling. So she is going to sue me,
Yeah.
because I'm not paying her $60,000. So anyway, yeah, I mean that gets real freaking expensive really fast. If that's the, let me think. I think that's the one and only homeowner injury situation we've ever dealt with. Yeah, it is. If for some reason she's in going to win that, my insurance is going to take care of it. That's where we're going with it is just going to let insurance battle it out. Because that's what it's for. That is exactly what liability insurance is for.
Mm.
Um, but at the end of the day, I'm sure my premiums will go up, and I will pay for that for years to come.
Yeah, over time. You're essentially
Mhm.
financing it. But hopefully, is your insurance company the one actually fighting it? Or will
They
you have
will, and that's a good tip for anybody um, dealing with lawsuits. So I had this would be my I've been in business going on 11 years, and this would potentially be my third lawsuit. The first one was me suing somebody, right? Put on a good roof, they just aren't paying the bill, so we're suing them. That's the one time I haven't fully paid for a bill. The second one was us. It was an install catastrophe. My guys did a dog shit job. And I have in my contract, again, one page contract, not difficult to read. I have a limitation of liability, which basically states our liability is only worth as much as the contract is valued at. So if it's $100,000 contract, the most that I can be liable for is $100,000, except situations like homeowner like damage that would be insurance issues. You
yeah.
know, it's not necessarily my liability, it's my insurance liability. So we did a really bad job on a project. My guys goofed it up bad. The guy was very unreasonable to deal with. So I tried to just write him a check for the full amount of the project. And he wouldn't accept. And so he decided to file suit and sue me for double what my contract was, which is kind of a crazy thing to even think about. That will go on. My insurance is taking care of that. So here's the deal. The tip is anytime they go after something insurable, your work is not insurable. That is yours to maintain and to be responsible for financially. So if you put on a shit roof and it leaks, that's yours. Like that's your problem. Where it gets a little Different is if that leak causes damage to something inside the property, which is what happened with us. It damaged some inventory of this commercial building. Okay. And so he decided to sue me for the 150,000 plus sue for damages to the property all in one suit. Well, what that does is that makes my insurance company liable. Mind you, they're only liable for like 10 grand of a $170,000 lawsuit. But what's interesting with that is they will cover all legal fees to battle this lawsuit for you. So the guy, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't have any remorse for this. I tried to write the guy a check for the full amount. Like I don't feel bad at this point. There's more to the story. He's taken advantage of a bad situation. Regardless, um, I do believe uh, our insurance company is going to fight this tooth and nail at no cost to me, and he is going to spend a lot of money with his legal fees that we will not be responsible for to probably end up at me writing him a check for the full amount of the contract, the $78,000 that was the original contract amount, because my contract states that. So,
Yeah.
um, my point to the story is the tip is if at any point you get in this kind of battle and there is damage to property and they want to pursue your insurance, let them. And then let your insurance fight the battle for you because attorney fees get real expensive real fast.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a long-winded way to say let your insurance company battle it for you.
But try to position from a contract standpoint to where that's more likely to happen, maybe. Like they were saying that
So
clause.
it didn't really make it more likely to happen. We just have the limitation of liability doesn't work in every state. I think there's some states that don't allow that. In the state of Ohio, there are a couple things that are allowed. So, limitation of liability is one of them. Another one is a requirement to sue in my state. So even though I did the work in West Virginia, they're required to file suit in Washington County of Ohio because that's what my contract states. That's how it works. Because of it being Ohio and West Virginia allows that, it works. Um, but because he wanted to go for more money, because he's really trying to milk this thing for all it's worth, he decided to go after damages of material I've never even seen damages to. Well, guess what? That got my insurance company involved. When they got involved, now they fight the suit for you. You pay nothing for attorney fees. I'm sure I will pay for it over the course of time. But that's why we pay for insurance. You got to use it every once in a while. Like nobody's perfect. There is times I can't tell you the amount of times we have had issues that I just pay for out of pocket. It's 2 grand, it's 5 grand, it's 10 grand. But when it's $78,000, no, I'm not just going to cough up 78 grand. Well, I'm sorry. I was going to cough up 78 grand. He's suing for 150. I'm not paying him that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And he's gonna end up. Yeah. It's not. She should have just
He's
taken
going
a
to have
check.
50 grand in it and he's still only going to get to 78,000. Like
Yeah.
it's almost factual. Like it's not even a battle really because it's just what it states.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. People are silly.
Yep.
All right, next question here. And guys, for those just joining us, please do put your questions into the chat or into the Q&A. We're happy to answer those. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going through our own questions we have queued up. Next question here is what's the most cost-effective way to, we're kind of on the topic of maintaining profitability here. What's the most cost-effective way to dispose of old roofing materials?
Dig a hole in the backyard and bury it every couple of years. I mean, the only thing we do is take it to landfill. I don't do it for cost effectiveness. I do it for what seems to be the path of least resistance. So we like dump trailers. I know there's places around the country that are big on dumpsters, roll offs, different things like that. I hate them. Uh, I want to leave the job site with my trash. I don't want to. There's logistical issues that can happen, right? Like you're setting up your job. Now, not only do you need a material delivery and labor to show up, now you need a dumpster to show up prior to that. You got to schedule with the homeowner so that their cars aren't in the road. You're not blocking anything in the road. Different things of that nature can be issues. Um, but the biggest thing I hate about it is when you leave, your crew leaves for the day at 5 o'clock, the job's all wrapped up. There's still a dumpster sitting in the driveway full of trash. Now for us, where I live, you have to give like a 3 to 4 day notice before that dumpster will be picked up. Well, in roofing, we all know it's so weather dependent, you can't really give that notice till you do the job. So now I'm going to have a dumpster sitting there. If I do the job on a Thursday, I'm going to have a dumpster sitting there till Monday, maybe Tuesday to come get picked up. I just don't like that. I think that that's messy. I think that's not a great look for the homeowner. With dump trailers, yes, we do have to run to the landfill ourselves, but um, it is a little less expensive, I would say, at the end of the day. But the big thing is we leave with our trash. When we leave at 5 o'clock, the job is done, cleaned up, the trash is disposed of. There is nothing to go back for other than to pick up a check. So, um, yeah, that's how we handle it.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Where we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow. Now, ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
That makes sense. Just being able to leave with everything, it just be done. It's nice. What is it legal to like, what if the homeowner says, "Hey, I'd like you to knock off $1,000 off the price, and I want you to just bury the shingles in the backyard"? Is
No,
that legal?
no, that is definitely not legal. Um, that would be an EPA fine of much more than $1,000. Um, no, you can't do that. No. We get a lot of customers that want us to leave the scrap steel, like we do metal roof. They
Oh,
want us to
really?
leave. They want us to leave the metal, whether it be for a little project, a chicken coop, or little odd and end type project. They want some scrap steel for, or they're real redneck and they want to scrap it. They're saving metal to haul to the junkyard to crush and get a couple $100 off of. We run into that, but as far as shingles go, no, there is no other option. They go to the landfill. We don't have recyclers around us. Now, I know up in like Columbus, Ohio, around that area, you can go to recycling places. I don't know what the cost is. I would love to know. I Even if it was more expensive, I'm not I'm not like some real super green type person, but at the same time, if it was reasonable, I would much rather see that happen. No, I've been going landfill for 11 years now. Actually, my dad he did construction, so I went to the landfill with him as a kid, and to see how full that place has gotten and how it's disturbing how much trash gets put in there and how much of its construction material is even crazier.
Yeah.
Um, So if there's a way to do something to recycle that, I would absolutely do that. There's just not. I mean, we'd have to drive 2 hours to go to one of these places. It doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah. That makes sense. It makes sense. Cool. Speaking about profits, what is the difference between markup and margin?
Oh yeah, this is a good one. We've talked about this before, but
Yeah.
um, Mathematically, you'll have to answer that question because I don't ever remember it. But uh, strategically, markup is less than margin. So when you're doing quoting or you're trying to, we run our business off profit margin. We want to, like right now, with our backlog, we were running 30 to 35% gross margin was how we were quoting all of our projects, somewhere in that range, depending on the project. What we do is the smaller it is, the closer to 35 we get, the bigger it is, we don't mind going down to around 30. Our backlog, we have been very fortunate this year. We've had a great season and it doesn't seem to be letting up. So we've just really accumulated quite a backlog. So we're bringing our margin up. So now we're up pushing closer to that 40% gross profit margin. What that means basically is if you sell a $10,000 job, if you're bidding at 40% gross profit margin, your gross profit on the job is $4,000. So the job cost you $6,000. If you bid the job, if your cost was going to be $10,000 for the job and you put a 40% markup on it, then it's a $14,000 job. Yes, you still make $4,000, but this is a $14,000 job that you make $4,000 on, not a $10,000 job that you make $4,000 on. Is that a good way to explain it? Because that's right.
What were you saying the profit margin was? 40?
So if you're running a 40% gross profit margin,
Yeah.
a $10,000 job, you gross profit $4,000.
Yeah.
If your cost is $10,000 for another project and you mark it up 40%, you use markup. Now that job's going to cost the homeowner $14,000. So on a $14,000 job, yes, you make $4,000. Or if you did it with margin on the $10,000 job, you make $4,000.
Yeah.
So you have to do
Well,
a larger job to get this. The numbers aren't the same.
yeah, I think it's you're right there, but it's easier to see or compare them if we just talk or work from the cost. So if you have a $6,000 cost,
Yep.
if you want to have a 40% profit margin on a job that costs 6,000, then you price it at 10,000. 10,000 provides 40% profit margin or $4,000 for that $6,000 cost job. Now, so you're applying a 40% profit margin to that 6,000
Yes.
cost, and that gives you 10,000. If you apply a 40% markup to the 6,000 cost, 40% markup means
That's
that
why
you're
you're
taking
10,000.
40% of the 6,000 and adding it, which is 2,400. So you add 2,400 to the 6,000, that's 840. So where this trips people up is
8,400.
people think they look online or in groups or in educational materials and they say, oh, you need to be charging the 35% margin or 30 to 40% margin or whatever. So they go out and they're like, well, I'm going to do 40% because I want to make more profit. But then they do it as markup. And when you do it as markup, that 40% margin that you thought was this really big chunk of profit ends up only being, if you divide that by 6,000 or by, let me see, 8,400, ends up only being 29% profit margin. So when you convert it back to margin, you're only making 29% on the job. So this is what really trips people.
Is it 54% markup is the equivalent to 35% margin?
It sounds about right. It's
Something like that.
substantial. It's a
It's a
substantial
big difference.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and it's really important to know. Well, it gets dangerous when you're using like Excel and stuff. That's where guys really get tripped up, is because markup is much easier to calculate. It's very intuitive to calculate markup, And so if you're thinking, oh, markup margin is probably the same thing, but then you apply it the 40%, you're going to completely screw yourself on these jobs. And so margin's a little bit more complex to calculate, but it is the right approach. And then the same thing happens with software too. There's like software companies out here that are just using markup, and so people are plugging in the number and it's spitting out something that's not got a healthy amount of profit in it.
Yeah.
And people are thinking, oh, well, I'm at 40%, so I must be fine. And they're going around telling their friends they're at 40%. And then they can't figure out why at the end of the year they're out of money and they can't cover their bills. And so that's where it really starts to get dangerous. But for margin, if you apply a 40% profit margin, what you're saying is I'm going to increase the cost of this job until 40% of it is profit. And there's a calculation in order to do that. So that's why it goes to the 10,000, because 10,000 means there's 40% profit. Markup says I'm going to take a percentage of the original cost and add it on top. Markup gets used in a retail environment a lot because it's like very common to have anywhere from like an 80 to 120% retail market. So markup. So when you go to a retail store, that store probably paid, if you're seeing something in the store for $100, the store probably paid for like $50 for it, and then they're adding 100% markup to it. And that's how it works in a retail environment. That's not the way you want to think about it from a services environment. So, so yes, a healthy margin is going to be between 30 and 40%. Higher than 40, you're probably losing jobs unnecessarily, but maybe you can command it if you just don't have the bandwidth and you have a big backlog, maybe you even go beyond that. But typically you don't want to go above 40%. You also typically don't want to go below 30%. You're going to really run out of profit on those jobs. And unless you're just really trying to be super competitive and you need to there's situations where you got to take a bigger dip to beat out a competitor or something. So there is situations, but generally you want to stay between that 30 and 40% margin, not markup. So there's a great article in our support, which I can pull up here. Let me see. So we actually wrote this up in the ProLine support knowledge base, and we have an article that goes into this for anybody that wants to go a little deeper.
Honestly, AJ, just not to cut you off, that's a big reason why we became as profitable as we were. We used to run off markup. And when ProLine created the quoting features and margin was able to be figured directly into every quote, we were able to utilize that, and we realized, holy shit, no wonder we haven't been making money. I know some people that have been in business for a long time, or guys that are well-educated people, or probably think I'm an idiot, but nobody taught me this shit. Nobody gave me the instruction manual on how to do this. So it was just, you just did what you thought was right, but you're not making money and you can't figure out why. Well, there's many people out there, many of us guys are struggling with that right now. And if they'd use a good software that would help with quoting and would help get their numbers more accurate every time, they'd make way more money. They're not stupid people. They're just not intelligent in their numbers, and they need that help. So good software can change that big time.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So I just shared that link in the chat, and that's to that article, and so that can help break down. Also breaks down how we calculate final price in ProLine, because there's other factors to consider as well when it comes to margin. So there's taxes; those have to get worked in. You gotta know where to work those into the calculations. There's also, if you want to build in your card fees to offset any fees spent on payment processing, you can also add that into your margin, but you usually want to kind of track that separately from your main margin, because you know that it's going to immediately go out to the merchant fees. So there's some different, but that article breaks everything down and the differences and everything. So, all right, final question here. So, I just got back from the Win the Storm conference. I was there all last week, and it's a good show. Saw a lot of people. Talked to a lot of partners, create a lot of content. We talked to a lot of great contractors there. So, um, they're the last. I guess it was the headline or the at the last big main stage event was Charlie Kirk came and talked on stage. I didn't actually see it myself, but I heard secondarily what was discussed. His main thrust of that presentation was that um, the solution to crews getting deported is you need to start training and hiring Americans instead. And that's well, it's something that you have to do for the country. It's better for the country, and it's just the right thing to do. Is his approach on that? It's his perspective. What do you think of that, Scott? What's your opinion on that?
I don't really disagree. What now? Understand, I've seen this on Facebook. I did get back on Facebook. I've been on Facebook for a little bit. But anyway, I saw a lot of people commenting on this and basically kind of throwing different narratives at it.
Yeah,
And honestly, some kind of racist narratives. And I don't even like that word. But here's the problem. You can be Latino and be an American. Just like you can be black and be an American. You can be Asian and be an American. So I saw a lot of people commenting, and some of them happen to be not from where I live, and I know a couple of them that were commenting on this and saying like, yeah, where's all the Americans at? And people are putting pictures of some Latino crews on, and they're like, those aren't Americans. It's like, how the hell do you know? Right? Like, you can't judge a person by that. I do agree with what he said. I just think a lot of people took it out of context. Um, we shouldn't be hiring illegals if we know they're illegal, right? Like, you're not helping any situation. One, that money, if they are illegal, chances are that money's not staying in the US. That those whatever they're making is a little tiny bit of it's covering their cost of living. Because let me tell you, those guys don't need much to live on. And then the rest they're sending back home, to their families, which good for them. They're trying, they're doing all they can to survive. I don't guilt them into that, or have ill will towards those people. They're just trying to survive. But at the same time, as a country, as a industry, as a whole, I do think we need to take some responsibility and understand that we do somewhat play a hand into monetizing illegal immigrants and using them in a way that really doesn't help the country. It helps the select few of us line our pockets a little bit more, but it doesn't really help the country as a whole. Um, does that make sense? I mean, am
yeah,
I okay? I'm not trying to get down in the weeds too far on it, but at the same time, it's like I see a lot of people complaining about the deportations and different things like that. What I wish, and I don't know if this is available or if this is a real thing, what I wish is they made ways for us as employers to help some of these really highly qualified individuals gain status as citizens. Not maybe not citizens, maybe it's a green card, whatever it is. I don't even know the terms. I know the term green card, but I don't really even know what that means. My point is, I feel like as employers, we have a responsibility uh to manage the workforce, right? Like we're putting people to work, we're making sure that they're have food on their table, have a good livelihood for their family, all these things. But at the same time, there's these people that want the work They're very good at it. Um, they understand our language. They participate in our communities. They're uh, renting homes. They're doing all these things, right? They're part of the community. But as employers, we have no way to help them gain some sort of rights in this country. So, as much as I agree with what Charlie Kirk said, I do wish there was also a way as employers to help some of these guys that are capable gain the status they need to stay.
Yeah, there is the H2B program, but I'm not sure if it's possible for someone to come in or be accepted to H2B while they're already here illegally. I
I think
believe
that's
that
the problem.
you have to actually be coming from that foreign country, get the H2B, and then arrive, and they track all of that. So you can't just become H2B qualified here. Um, I am really curious because H2B is a big thing that a lot of people outside the US are highly aware of. And so I'm really am curious to see if any roofing contractors are able to successfully use H2B because it seems like there is a big need. And I think people would jump. There'd be a lot of Latinos that would jump at the opportunity to come to the U.S. and work in roofing through the legally through H2B if given the opportunity. But I don't know. Like I know some agencies that do help with H2B, but they don't typically work. They don't work with any roofing companies because there's no roofing companies that have applied to be H2B employers. But it seems like the perfect fit for HGB. So I'm curious to know because I think it and I think this is what you're kind of getting at. It's like it depends on your definition of Americans. And the definition of Americans should be anyone that's here legally, like here that's followed the rules and
Yes.
is here participating, paying taxes, being part of the U.S.
Just being part of
society.
society. Yeah, just being part of society and taking part and being part of a community. You know, it, I don't know. It's such a fine line today. And the problem is like I know guys that are not legal, and I know some really high quality guys. And I'm not saying just because their work's good, just good-hearted, honest people. Like it's not like they're shitheads. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them that are really good guys that just wanted to make a better life for themselves, and they said, "Fuck it, I'm going." You know, who's to blame them, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what we all did. You and I, entrepreneurs, we worked for somebody for a long time, and put money on their and we're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go try this by myself. Well, that's what they did. They just did it to a way bigger extreme, took way bigger risks, way bigger chances, and for them, the reward was probably much bigger. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just, but there's got to be a way to transition some of these guys that I believe you need to speak the native tongue, right? If you're going to come to America illegally and be part of this country, you need to probably speak the native language, which happens to be English. If you can't speak any English at all, you can't communicate with the vast majority of the country, that's probably already a strike against you. But a few things like that, if you're able to kind of do some of those little things and you're very skilled in your craft, I think there should be a way employers could help assist in that transfer, but I don't think there is right now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's tough. Frank said the issue with H2B is that you need to prove your skills in your home country, and there's no feasible way to hire the right roofer in a foreign country. In our industry, we're not hiring computer engineers. That's what makes it difficult for us to use those programs. Frank, I will. So you may be correct, but I think that you might be thinking of the H1B program. The H1B program is for specialty occupations where you have to have a skill. It requires no certification of any kind. So H2B is a different qualification that is just pure labor. So a lot of the primary organizations that are doing H2B are cashiers, restaurant workers. They're hiring for these roles: cashier roles, restaurant worker roles, hotel cleaning roles in general. It's just non-agricultural and non-skilled. There's a specific one for agriculture. That's H2A is for agriculture. H2B is non-agricultural, non-skilled labor. So there's no specialty or there's no skill requirement. It's just purely if it matches the job requirements, which is determined by the employer, then they can come over. Now, I still think there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and I think that's one of the issues is that a lot of the organizations that are doing H2B are big corporations. So they're like big PE funded chains of stores that are then bringing in 10,000 or 5,000 cashiers to work in all their stores. That's the type. That's so they have an easier time because I think that there might be quite a admin load potentially. There may be a lot of paperwork involved with H2B. So, and I think the other problem is that, so I think the other issue is that it's not roofers, it's not American roofers that are hiring the individuals themselves. They're usually hiring subs, and the subs are usually owned by are often that might be a US company, but it's often owned by someone who is still not legal. Or if they are legal, they still have people that are not legal working for them. And so so the only way to get approved for the H2B program is to have be completely clean. Like you cannot have anyone, you have to be able to show that you are like like making sure everyone that works for you is like they probably I believe they do inspections, like there's all of these things. So none of the current subs that work with Latino roofers are going to qualify for H2B, and then the roofing contractors themselves are not hiring individual roofers, they're hiring the subs. So I think that's more likely why this has not happened, but I'd be interested to see if anyone's able to figure this out and is maybe able to go down that route. Potentially, it requires just hiring directly. Um, but the
I
key,
have, go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go ahead. I was pretty much done.
I have a contact. It's a good friend of mine that is the president of a company that um basically they've built a labor force. And it's all Latino labor. And they basically have all these guys and they just send them to job sites. So it's basically a oh, what's it called? Like an employment uh group, right? Um like a temp service type thing, but it's
Yeah,
just Latino labor. I could get with him and maybe we could loop him in sometime because that would be a guy that I mean he is right in the thick of this. Um
mm,
And with where we're at the state of the country, that's literally what his business is, and it's a big business. So,
yeah,
um, I mean, he's working with the owner of it. Is doing a couple $100 million a year in revenue. So it's a big company. Might be worth bringing him on sometime. Have him join us for 15 minutes of this call and pick his brain.
yeah,
I think he'd do it.
yeah. I'd be curious.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I'll ask.
Cool. All right. We'll end it there. But thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see everybody next time.
See it.